Interactions within League of Legends mostly boil down to one of three types depending on the situation: neutral, trade, and all-in. Every champion specializes in one or two types, which you can then use to determine when's the best time to fight them and when is the best time to avoid them. Someone like Riven is best suited for trading and all-inning, meaning the most effective time to fight her is in neutral. Now you can always try to confront a champion in the same interaction type if your champion's better at that specific interaction, like Renekton or Pantheon, but for the sake of cost-benefit, usually the best counterplay against someone is to attack them in the one interaction they aren't well suited for. So then how do you fight someone who's good at all three? That is where we encounter our champion archetype for today. Though small in number, League has a group of cast members who specialize in striking enemies while playing a more avoidant playstyle, relying on evasion and spacing to keep out of harm's way, while applying pressure at the same time. Because of their means of attack, champions with the hit and run playstyle are designed in such a way where it's unclear as to whether they're really trying to kill you or if they're just messing around, resulting in no shortage of frustration when playing against them, when also accounting for how difficult it is for you to fight back. For today, we'll be discussing hit and run champions in League and how they might be the most annoying archetype in the game. What got me initially thinking about making a piece on this was when I took a look at champions with a very high ban rate. I noticed a recurring trend. At the time of writing this, we're at the tail end of patch 4.17. So when you see this, it will be around 14.18 if not 14.19, but it's still pretty topical, I'd say. Looking at the most banned champions of 14.17, you'll notice many of them have this very playstyle: Aurora, LeBlanc, Zed to an extent, Lilia, and Shaco. The three that I consider definitive examples of hit and run champions are the ones you see on the thumbnail, along with Singed, Echo, and Mininar. But you can make a case for Shaco, Zed, Zoe, Kennen, Fizz, Blue King, Gragas, Ahri, and Twisted Fate to be in this category too. As you can see, depending on how loose your definition of hit and run is, the archetype can either be niche or stable presence throughout the game, and there's a good reason for why it's such a loose definition. Unlike your conventional classes, Artillery, Vanguard, Diver, Assassin, hit and run is more of a playstyle, not a mechanic. Beyond that, it can potentially fit into any of the aforementioned interactions: neutral, trade, and all-in, leading us to the first factor behind why many hit and run champions have notoriously high ban rates when meta relevant. Fighting them is incredibly ambiguous, making it difficult for opponents to locate a clear window of attack against them. Elaborating on that, let's talk about the three interactions in more detail. Neutral, as most of you know by now, denotes a game state where neither player has a positional, situational, or statistical advantage against the other. The goal is to probe for an opening which will then transition the game state into advantage and disadvantage, wherein one side's attacking while the other is either defending or retreating. Naturally, to advance the game state in neutral, either side has to take action, therefore some amount of risk to get going, be it walking up to your opponent using an ability, things like that. If they miss or overextend, that could put them in a bad position, so champions who can take meaningful action at minimal exposure to themselves are considered good in neutral. An example being artillery mages, who specialize in poking enemies from afar while being away from any semblance of danger. Trading in League denotes a champion briefly going in on their target without the intention to press any further than their initial attack rotation. You may recall I sometimes mention a champion excelling at burst trades. Pretty much every ability-based champion has the rudimentary burst combo of some sort. For Darius, it's E, Auto, WQ, that's a burst trade. For Malphite, it's QWE. For Ahri, it's EWQ. For Brand, it's EQW, so on and so forth. Usually both champions apply pressure to each other mutually, whether at the same time or one after another, hence why it's called trade. All-ins are for all intents and purposes a trade combo, but with the intent to press further to kill the enemy or die trying. For some, they might have a means of continuously attacking, such as autos, or they might just stay in the fight until their cooldowns come back up. In either case, all-ins are, as the name implies, a full commitment to the fight. Hit and run champions can be nebulous to deal with because they can appear to excel at all three fields, yet not make it abundantly clear which one they're actually doing. Take LeBlanc. LeBlanc has always been a volatile champion. If given the slightest concession, her play rate could easily rocket past 10%, with their ban rate following suit. Many think her an assassin on the basis of her combos being known for one-shotting enemies, but she's actually more of a burst mage than assassin, and her whole motif of deceiving enemies further lends itself to playing more for hit and run than actual rush-down assassination. LeBlanc is able to apply pressure in neutral through her status as a ranged attacker, along with distortion giving her a way to get in and get out quickly. Moreover, her kit was designed to play around trade combos, making her a natural at that as well. All-in wise, while it may seem like she's bad in that department, technically speaking, her burst trade is her all-in. I don't think she needs to be concerned with pressing the attack when she can always get back in. If need be, she can continue chasing her opponent once her distortion comes off cooldown. You may have noticed that her interactions are all the same: attack, run, attack, run, attack, run. Having the ability to quickly disengage after a fight makes it so a hit and runner's neutral combo is the same as their trade combo, which is the same as their all-in combo. Calling back to what I said during my neutral explanation, for someone to advance the game state into an advantage or disadvantage, they have to contend with the risk of being put in disadvantage themselves. Neutral-oriented attackers like Xerath and Ezreal may be able to exert pressure safely in neutral, but that comes at the cost of them having a rather poor advantage state, as they're unable to chase after enemies once they're in a position to. Unless of course Xerath is scripting and lands every hit of his ultimate. Likewise, trade and all-in champs have a weak neutral game because if hypothetically Sylas jumps in to attack you, he no longer has an escape option. He's committed to the fight unless both champs agree to walk away from each other. Hidden runners on the other hand can get in and get out quickly in the same rotation, allowing their trade combo to double as a neutral poke and their all-in depending on whichever they prefer. If Lilia walks up to Q you, for all you know she could just be giving you a quick tap, or she could be fishing for maybe something more. Either way, for your sake, you have to always assume that random swirl seed rolling down lane can easily turn into a sleep. You always have to assume you're at risk of getting hard engaged on, which the enemy hidden runner can take advantage of by baiting you into an unforced error. At the same time, trying to trade against the hidden runner can be really difficult since the very tools they use to get in can also be used to get out. If you don't have a long-lasting cooldown tool, it's really hard to stay on Lilia to apply pressure. She can walk towards you and Q, then walk away with the increased movement speed to then walk back in and Q you again, getting progressively faster and faster. Kennen can walk up and poke at you, and if you try to attack him, he stuns you, then lightning rushes away. Gnar can chuck boomerangs and autos at you, but the moment you try to engage on him, he can hop, skip, and jump over you. Every hidden runner has more than one way to get in and get out, distinguishing them from other champs who usually only have one way. LeBlanc's Distortion is her engage and disengage tool at the same time. Lilia can walk in, get some damage off, and because she's a tempo-based character, she escapes just by moving away. Singed is the hit-and-run champion. His engage turns into his disengage, walk up to you and fling you, dealing damage while simultaneously giving himself an avenue of escape. If Gnar hops in, he can always use the movement speed boost from Hyper to run away instead. Same goes for Kennen. If he lightning rushes to get in range of you, he can use a stun to disengage. Echo can get a face dive in, get some damage off, and either use a stun from Parallel Convergence, the movement speed from his passive, Chrono Break to yeet himself out of there, or all of the above. Gragas can use Body Slam to escape while throwing a barrel behind him, or he can Body Slam in, do tons of damage, and then use a slow from barrel roll to prevent you from going after him. That, and he also usually goes Face Rush. Hidden runners are annoying to fight because they can attack you while running away. They aren't invincible per se, being evasion oriented, the best way to stop them is with any kind of lockdown as it affects them proportionally more than say a tank or bruiser who can survive a bit longer. But crowd control is the universal counterplay tool. By that logic, it works against everyone. Flexible and sustained mobility is the name of the game for the archetype. They don't have abilities that are exclusively meant for hard engage or hard disengage, it can be either. In addition to their attack combo serving as a retreat combo, a hidden runner's poke rotation also doubles as an all-in too. Unlike poke champs where getting hit by one or two abilities isn't the end of the world, getting hit by one or two abilities from one of these champs can spell certain death. A Shaco backstab empowered deceive followed by 2-share poison can literally 2-tap you if he goes lethality. Getting struck by LeBlanc QWE nukes your HP in half a second. Our most recent addition Aurora has made a name for herself for having one of the stupidest burst rotations in the game, QEQ. That alone chunks you while giving her an easy escape tool. Now, unlike assassins where if you manage to survive their attack, they're kind of useless for a short while, hidden runners may not have quite the same firepower to one-shot you 5 times over like that of a Rengar, Talon, Kiana, Fizz, or Evelynn, but they make up for it by having the ability to reposition so they can do it again. Basically, instead of one round of 100%, they have multiple rounds of 50%, and they can keep applying pressure to the enemy team so long as they're alive. It also helps that most of them play a kiting and reposition strategy. Lilia and Aurora both gain ramping movement speed the longer they stay in combat. Gragas tends to run movement speed items like Cosmic Drive and Lichbane to stay slippery. Since most of their threat does not require their ultimate compared to assassins and other burst mages who usually do, hidden runners are constantly able to burst you, then run, burst you, then run. Some choose to go for more utility or sustain focus routes like how Lilia prefers damage over time with their passive or how Twisted Fate turns into a stun bot, but the premise is the same. Hidden run champions skirt the line between actually fighting you and not actually fighting you. When dealing with a class all about flexibility and slipperiness, apart from locking them down, the only other course of action is to end fights quickly. Trying to outplay them can get difficult, especially towards the mid-game where their cooldowns get low enough and they start actually hurting a ton. Obviously the best time to stop Aurora, Lilia, Echo, LeBlanc and such is before they can ramp up and start 2-tapping you or cutting you into oblivion. But considering they still have the overarching playstyle of being slippery, if they choose a non-confrontational approach to early game, there's not much you can do since you also have long cooldowns and low damage. Towards the mid to late game, the only real way to beat them is by playing the hot and cold game right back at them, such as going full balls to the wall or with a control-based team, neither of which can be consistently achieved from game to game. Say for example you're fighting a Lilia. Historically, one of her biggest counters has been her fellow centaur Hecarim, a very proactive hard-engaged fighter who can rush down Lilia and keep tempo with her so she can't reliably get her sweet spot Q off. Another example would be Diana, who can likewise rush her down, get all up in her face, and likely kill her quickly. Both of these champs can break past Lilia's comfort zone and either burst her down or never let her build momentum, being very balls to the wall in gameplay. Control-wise, outside of lockdown, one other way you can mitigate the pressure of hidden runners is by slowing them down. Talia is a well-known counter against both Echo and LeBlanc because she can stand in her minefield, discouraging them from using their dash abilities. There's also Galio, who excels at counter-engaging. The moment they try to go in on his teammate, he can pop his ultimate and knock them up, or if they engage on him, he can taunt them before they try to run away. The hidden run champion knows this, so they feel less emboldened to go in. That's about all you can do versus them. You have to play either extremely fast, aka proactive, or force them to slow down, aka reactive. Not only that, but the window of opportunity to do so can fluctuate from one circumstance to another. If played by a high-level player, they can change up their tempo, their avenues of engage, and make it really hard for you to figure out their rhythm. For you to play proactively against a hidden runner, you have to keep track of them and attack at the right time and place. If you engage recklessly on a LeBlanc, Zed, or Shaco, you might put yourself in a bad position by overextending. Or in the case of those three, they can play monkey in the middle and run circles around you while you're hopelessly chasing and trying to get your hands on them. But for you to play reactively against a hidden runner, you also have to keep track of them and learn when to fight back. Hidden runners can get in quickly and get out, so if your counter engage against them is too slow, too hesitant, or alternatively too early, you'll have lost your chance to stop them. That is what makes them so annoying to deal with. Since they don't have very clear openings for when to fight them, you might run into games where they just completely dominate. Also, it's just a general idea that comes with hitting someone and running away. I'm sure everyone has watched Tom and Jerry. Jerry likes to be as annoying as possible while Tom is trying in vain to catch him. Hidden runners are Jerry while everyone else is Tom. Each class is only half the equation necessary to stop a hidden runner. Tanks have the durability to shrug off their repeated pokes and the CC to boot, but they don't have the mobility, range, or damage to pose a threat on their own. Mages have the range and burst potential to shut down a hidden runner, but most lack the ability to hold them still to land that burst damage. Marksmen have guaranteed pressure in the form of pointing with autos, but they don't have the mobility or survivability to catch up and withstand their pokes. Fighters have equal parts durability and power, but they don't have the mobility or stick potential to chase after them. In practice, the only class who can take on a hidden runner are rushdown-oriented characters or very niche counters like the previously mentioned Galio or Talia, bringing it down to a very narrow champion pool, many of which consisting mostly of picks that aren't all that popular. In essence, to beat a hidden runner, you have to play by their rules, not that conducive to a fun experience for the opponent. I find it curious how the player base's thought process on who to ban is predicated more on who is annoying, not who actually counters that champion. Anecdotally, I always find myself banning Kennen when I play top because even if there are bigger threats out there, against them I feel like I can still take them head on, but versus Kennen, I have to just sit there and let the stupid rat play Ring Around the Rosie for 20 minutes. I'm assuming people feel the same way about Lilia, LeBlanc, Aurora, Shaco and stuff, evidenced by them all having a really high ban rate as of late. How do you guys feel about hidden runners? Do you agree with the title, or do you think there's a more annoying archetype than them? If so, be sure to let me know in the comments. That's it for today, so if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be much appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my other champion archetype discussions if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.